Bernard, are you a better fighter than you were when you were defending that middleweight title all those times, or are you just a smarter fighter who's figured out better ways to win?
I think I'm the smarter fighter that think a better way to win now, because even with success of being young, there's a lot of things that now that I look at when I was young, even though I was successful, I waste a lot of time. But those things you have to go through, and that's why we are young before we are old. And that's why we are immature before we become mature. These stages are set by the times of life, and so you can get there before he or she, but at the end of the day, y'all all gonna get there when it's time for you to get there. And that's the thing I realize in life, not just sport, is that when I look back at my last, that's a great question, to the last 5 years of my career, and the way I feel, and the less hours I spend in the gym compared to when I was younger, I say I'm fighting 10 rounds or 12 round fights and 3 times 12 while I'm training for 4 hours. See, these are the things when you do when you're young and you're dumb and you got all this energy and you just run and you realize I'm training for a fight that's less than an hour, 4 hours. You would believe that's an overkill. But as you get older and you understand, and somehow some don't survive that long torture and some survive it, and if you get the knowledge to understand, like, don't you know you gotta reverse that now? I wouldn't be here now if I was thinking that same concept without growth and development now. If I was training the way I was training, even though I was successful 20 or 15 years ago, I'd be burnt out. I'd be overtrained, overthinking, overtrained. There's a lot of college people in here that studied that test and thought they was ready, and they did study. They overstudied, and they flunked the whole damn test. They know they in the crowd. And they had to go, no, seriously, but they had to go back and they had to take a deep breath. They had to realize that, wait a minute, I'm making this thing out to be too serious. It's keeping me up at night. You know what I mean? I went through 15 cups of coffee, trying to stay up and understand, and busting my head. Let me just step back from it and take a deep breath and relax and chill, and do something else for a minute, and then get back to it, and you'll be fresh as a daisy. That's the spiritual side. And that's the side that young folks and young fighters and young people don't get right away. And some will never get. That's just part of life and part of the game. I'm glad I got both of them. And so I know the difference between, even with success, Naazim, between this and between that. I'm having the best time in the last 5, 6 years that I had in my whole career, even with the accolades of success. So the best time.
Because you don't have any pressure on you? You don't feel like you have...
You know why? It's because over 60% of the population in America is over 50. And I'm 2.5 months of 50 years old, and I know that's a statement that's going to make a brand and a movement that's going to be way beyond what I do in the ring. Can you imagine that if they got a halftime in football, and they got a halftime in basketball, and they got a halftime in certain sports where you got 4 quarters or 2 quarters, and you at the second half with respect and dignity, just like the first half. And I ain't gambling on living another 50 years after January 15th of 2015. You mean to tell me that's nothing I can celebrate 2 victories of the turn of another chapter, another age bracket, another halftime of life? Why do you think that most people, when they turn 50, they celebrate, right? True? Why is 50 is so significant to celebrate? You can celebrate 50 like you can celebrate 20 like you celebrate 50. You can celebrate 30. But why is 50? Because 50 is the halftime. See, because nobody expects to live another 50 years, right? So you look at the numbers don't lie, they never do. They get churned back sometimes, daylight savings, and they get churned, they get pushed forward, right? But they never change, still goes forward. So when you look at me, look at that time. And look at that time saying, you know what? When you do the things that the alien or the execution or whatever you know me by, B-Hop, when you look at the lifestyle, and you look at the discipline in that man, you would say preserved. You would say well kept. You would say, yeah, it's 1965, clean in the garage. But the engine and the mechanics are brand new because he took care of it. He got those bolts oiled. He got the car cleaned out, the pistons cleaned, the sparks plugs are new. You're looking at the car in a year, but you ain't pop the engine to understand that when you look at the car and you open the inside, you start seeing the mechanics in there, you look and say, my God, that 2014 that been ran down to the ground, that haven't had a tune-up or oil change in 9 months, that haven't had the brakes changed, the wheels rotated, what car is old? The 65 or the 2014? Why y'all humans don't think that way? Why y'all humans don't think that way? But the alien do. See, because old to y'all is a number, but it's not the person. And that's your biggest mistake.
How do you rotate the tires?
Well, you rotate them. You rotate the tires by taking them off and you rotate them to the next tire. Or you change them.
Come in your legs.